Hi, this is Cindy McColley presenting Chapter 8, Campaign Planning for Digital Media. The learning objectives for this chapter are to understand the steps to create a digital media campaign, identify the main success factors in managing a digital campaign, relate promotion techniques to methods of measuring site effectiveness, and understand the importance of integrating online and offline communications. Questions for marketers to consider are: what are the goals for marketing that you are trying to achieve? How shall you measure success? How shall you plan for online marketing campaigns? And how shall you choose the best mix of online and offline communication techniques? Now, as far as overall campaign planning, there are several steps that you will need to follow, and I will outline those steps in this chapter review. First, there's goal setting and tracking. You will think about specific goals you should set for online campaigns and how do you measure success? What response mechanisms will be most effective? Campaign insights. Which data about customers and competitor behavior is available to inform your decision? Segmentation and targeting. How can we target and reach our different audiences? Offer and message development. How do we specify our offer and key messages? Budgeting and selecting the digital media mix. How should we set the budget and invest in different forms of digital media? And lastly, integration into the overall media schedule or plan. How should we plan the media schedule which incorporates different waves of online and offline communications? Now we'll start with goal setting and tracking. Goals should always be set for the year-long objective and for individual and specific campaigns. Year-long goals should include overall site visits or generating X amount of leads. Campaign goals should include downloading of a coupon or something like how many likes did I achieve. Now for each one of the steps, I've created an example within General Motors. In this case, we're going to talk about the Volt brand team and the launch campaign. So in order to achieve the year-long volume objective, so talking about the year-long goals, the Volt brand team will create a launch campaign to generate awareness. So that's a specific campaign. The goals for the specific campaign will be, in this example, to generate 1 million visitors to the website or blog, to generate 1 million likes on their Facebook fan page, to generate 10% key performance indicators such as how many times did the customer take a look at the photos that they've placed on the website or the blog. Research pages, did they actually take a look or research the dimensions or information associated with the Volt? And did any of the customers build their own Volt, which is one of the tools that is offered on the website? And the number one goal is to generate 1% of leads or communications that will be sent to General Motors dealers, which is, preparing for the likelihood of a sale. So when you think about measuring or setting campaign objectives, there are several steps that you can take in considering your success. And the steps start from very basic, in this instance they call it step 0, to very sophisticated measurement. So if you think about how many customers am I reaching, that would be a percentage. If you think about the quality or conversion rates, we'll talk about that in a couple of slides, but conversion rate basically is of the impressions that I had, how many customers actually clicked on the campaign or the ad that I offered up. And then the cost per click, of the dollars that I spent, if you divide that, how much did each one of those clicks cost me? And then the cost per acquisition would be how of those customers that I acquired, and we'll call the leads acquiring customers, how much did I pay for each one of those leads? And then the campaign ROI, which is basically how much I spent versus how much I generated in sales, and you would calculate your return on investment. And then branding metrics. And so the branding metrics would refer to things like your awareness. Are more people now aware of the Volt now that I've had those campaigns? Or are more people considering the Volt now that I've had those campaigns? And so there are many ways to measure branding metrics, mostly through surveys and through various panels. And then what is the lifetime value? So if I'm able to inspire a customer through my advertising to actually buy a Volt, how many times will they buy it over their lifetime? So they're so satisfied with the Volt, with the promise that I suggested in my advertising, that when they decide to purchase their second vehicle after their Volt, they come back and they buy another one and another one and another one. And that is what great marketing is all about. And there are ways to calculate the overall lifetime value versus what you would spend on that customer over the lifetime. And this figure can be found on page 457. An example of effectiveness measures for online campaign, there is a lot of opportunity to actually take a look at the measurement because online media is so measurable. So in this example, you can take a look at impressions. And the very next thing that you would take a look at after impressions would be your click-through rate, which is right here. Now, a click-through rate is calculated based on your ad impressions relative to your clicks, and then you would come up with a percentage of your click-through rate. So in this case, it's 0.23%. And then next, you would take a look at your cost per click. Your cost per click is calculated based on your media spend and how many clicks that you generated. So if you divide 50,000 into 700,000, the cost per click was $14. So for every one of these 50,000 customers, you spent $14 for that click, just for that click. So when somebody sees your ad on Google and they click and they land on your website and that's it, you paid $14 for that. Now the next thing that you would take a look at is your cost per opportunity. Now that's based on your opportunity response, which is basically leads that are generated or sent to, in this case we'll talk about a Volt, to deal. So I spent 700,000. I sent this many leads to dealers, and each one of those leads costs $41.92. So you basically, again, just take a look at your media costs relative to the amount of leads that were generated, and you calculate your cost per opportunity. And then the conversion rate opportunity to sale is based on how many sales that you generated versus your media cost, and that will generate your 395. So in this campaign, there were 21 million impressions. You spent $700,000. You generated 1,770 sales, and each one of those sales cost the organization $395. So if you make $2,000 per vehicle or per product, that's a pretty good return on investment. So that's just one example. These are very typical data points that a digital marketer would look at regularly, usually monthly, but sometimes in a campaign you'll actually look at these even weekly. And there's all kinds of metric tools that will do these calculations for you. Or if you have an agency of record, your agency of record will often provide these to you. This chart is located on page 460 and it's figure 8.6. So the second step in the overall campaign plan would be to consider campaign insights. Now, you generate campaign insights relative to the target customer and the marketplace. And it's used basically, this is really important, the information that you understand about what your consumer is looking for or your target consumer is your platform for your overall campaign. You will utilize this information to generate a creative brief that you would send to your agency who's going to work on creating the actual creative and the campaign. This will be a guide to them or an outline or a template to make sure that they fall within. And insights are derived from many sources. Your customer research, what are the demographics of your target? What are their needs? What are their behaviors? And when I say behaviors, what I mean by that is where are they online? So if you understand who your target consumer is, what sites do they visit? What kind of media do they currently consume? Competitive reviews. So in the case of the Volt, a key competitor would be the Nissan Leaf, and because that is another electric vehicle. So how are they advertising? How are they successful? What are their current sales? Previous campaigns. So as a digital marketer, you've conducted other launches. What did you learn from those other launches? What are the corporate requirements? Well, we know that we have so much money. We know that we have so many objectives that we have to achieve. And then social, political, or economic conditions. For example, the volt is very relevant because of the current environment relative to two issues. One, fuel economy, and secondarily, economic conditions. Right now, there are many people that are, for example, unemployed. So payment or the lack of utilization of gas so that it is more efficient as far as operating the volt. So in our example, the research has shown that environmentalists have a high propensity to buy electric vehicles, and fuel economy ranks as the #1 reason to buy. Now what we know is that the Nissan Leaf is selling slowly but very well in California, and I'm just making that up, but for purposes of this exercise, and the economy is suffering because of a loss of jobs, especially in the manufacturing sector. So I'm going to take those insights, understanding that my target customer cares about the environment. My target customer has a high propensity to buy electric vehicles, and they care about fuel economy. So, you would think about information such as that when you're creating your campaign. You're going to think about what would be relevant to those individuals, and there's a lot of data that says if an individual likes this, then therefore they would like this. Next would be segmentation and targeting. Defining, selecting, and reaching specific target audience. Targets can vary depending on the market, the campaign, the budgets, or the tools involved. And focus on customer insights, once again, characteristics, values, needs, and behaviors, attributes and variables that can influence response, targeting approaches that are available to connect to your target consumer. Utilizing our example, our target customers are on the coast and they have a high degree of internet use, especially in the social space. So we're understanding a little bit about the tools now. So we've identified environmentalists. They live on the coast. They care about fuel efficiency. They're environmentalists. They utilize many social channels, and they are early adopters to new technology. So those are some of the data that we've collected to understand, again, how to effectively launch our online campaign for the Volt. Dig into segmentation and targeting. There is a table in your book, table 8.3, that really focuses on the types of targeting and segmentation approaches that you can utilize in a digital campaign. For example, relationship to the company. Have they ever purchased your products before? Are they new buyers for automobiles in general? Are they current customers or owners of your vehicles, and can you approach them from that perspective? Or have they, for example, purchased a car once, went to another brand? How can you attract them to come back to your car? Demographic segmentation. We'll focus just on the area of business to consumer, age, gender, social group, geographic location. In this example, I spoke of how we would target those that are on the coast. And then psychographic and attitudes of your target customer. So attitudes to risk and value when buying. So you have to appeal to those higher order behaviors and feelings and emotions. Are they early adapters, as we spoke about, to technology? Or brand loyal, again, talking about have they purchased your products before? And price conscious. We've talked about the environment. Value, assessment of current or historical values and future values. So are they going to care about whether the Volt has a high resale value? If so, we want to make sure that we incorporate that in our messaging. Life cycle stage, position in their life cycle related to the value of their behavior, time since their initial registration, number of products purchased, categories purchased. So life cycle is certainly a big deal in customer relationship management. It's a big deal when you're talking about business, because if you can inspire not only a customer to buy the first time, but inspire them for a lifetime, then obviously that ad is a very, very valuable ad. And there are a lot of brands that are able to do this. And then behavior. Think about search terms in the search engines. Which sites have they visited? So if they're visiting environmental sites and fuel efficiency sites, then obviously that's where you would want to place your advertising. And then going on to step 4, your offer, your message, and your creative. Define the right offer or proposition for the online campaign. Create a relevant and clear message for the different forms of digital media, and package the message creatively to inspire desire or action. So here on the second point, a relevant and clear message for the different forms of digital media. What do I mean by that? So you would create 140 characters if you were to promote on Twitter. You would create a unique type of ad with no photos in Google, or you could create some type of rich media if you were to place it on a lifestyle site. So there are all kinds of ways that you can put a message together, and depending on the media, that's how you would make it clear, relevant, and creative. So for our example, the campaign should focus on fuel efficiency. So we would talk about the messaging of fuel efficient vehicles. Focus on Made in America and pricing that's affordable via leasing payments. Creative should be fresh and new with a focus on green, and campaigns should include action options such as share, post to Facebook, Twitters, or blogs. So again, this is just an example, but that's the type of information that you would supply to your creative team to focus on, because you really need to identify who you're targeting, what's relevant to them, and then create a message that will connect with them and inspire them to take action in the direction that you're looking for. Going to step 5, budgeting and selecting the digital media mix, starting with established budgets and identifying the optimal digital media mix utilizing history and previous experience, considering the type of campaign. Now, I will tell you that in general, in most instances, if you're working for a large company, and oftentimes even if you're working for a small company, you will have an established budget. So if you're working for a small company, they'll say, look, I can spend $1,000 for this campaign. If you're working for a large company, they might say, look, I can spend $2 million for this campaign. So with that in mind, what you're going to do is create the best media mix to connect with your target customer with the right message, utilizing that amount of money. So in the example here, the Volt brand team has been allocated X amount to launch and market the vehicle for the entire year. So the brand manager really has to take into account, okay, how much do I want to spend on this campaign to launch the vehicle? Now, it's going to be somewhat expensive in terms of actually generating sales because not many people know about the brand. So this is an awareness campaign, which generally is like the first phase, but as far as ROI, not necessarily there. Tools typically used to generate awareness include search, online advertising, high traffic third-party sites like Edmunds and KBB, and the agency will provide a media plan that will fit that overall campaign budget and provide you with impressions, costs, and leads that are expected. So you can set expectations with your organization to say, hey, we're going to spend quite a bit of money and we're going to get to the first phase of awareness, but please don't necessarily judge us on how many leads that we generate. But awareness is certainly important, and it is the beginning phase of the opportunity to inspire customers to consider you and ultimately buy. Going to step 6, integration into the overall media schedule. Campaign integration is the coordination of channels to deliver a clear and consistent message. The author gives some 4 C's that I think are helpful and relevant. Coherence, meaning logically connected. Consistency, the message is supported and reinforced. Continuity, connected and consistent throughout time. And then complementary, the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. And so in our example, the coherence would be TV ads would drive traffic to the website, blog, and the Facebook page. Consistency would be TV ads would highlight fuel efficiency in the website to explain more detail relative to overall fuel efficiency. So in a 30-second spot, you really can't talk about why it's fuel efficient or how it's fuel efficient or how it saves the environment. You could simply say it is fuel efficient, and you can maybe say, to what degree, but the website would explain that in more detail. You can put paragraphs and information and show pictures and videos. So that is working from a consistency standpoint. And then there's continuity. As the year progresses, the message will no longer highlight launch, but you will continue to focus on fuel economy. So you won't say, oh, the all-new Volt is very fuel efficient, but you will in your future campaigns continue to talk about the fuel economy, maybe in more detail or a second phase or a little bit deeper, but you won't necessarily continue to talk about the launch. So the thread will be the fuel efficiency of the Volt. And then complementary, by adding the TV, the print, and the online marketing, the campaign is collectively successful. But if you only had an online campaign and measured it, if you only had television, or if you only had print, it wouldn't be as successful. So it's the integration or the complement of all of those pieces put together to create an overall effective campaign. So in summary, there are 6 key steps in creating a digital marketing campaign that were outlined in this chapter and in the video: goal setting and tracking, campaign insights, segmentation and targeting, offer and message development, budgeting and selecting the digital media mix, integration into overall media schedule or plan. Customer and market insight should be the platform or foundation for all campaigns. And finally, all of the steps should be utilized for small and large campaigns and for short-term and long-term goals.